Ever imagine yourself, like, right there on a buzzing factory floor, but instead of just being amidst the machinery, you're the one making sure everything runs smoothly.
You're thinking about a career as a textile quality manager.
Exactly. And lucky for us, we've got RoleCatcher's career guide to walk us through what that really means beyond just, looking for loose threads.
And what's so cool about this guide is that it doesn't just tell you what the job is, but it gives you this whole roadmap, like how to get there, what skills you need.
It even has interview tips, which we might get to later.
Right.
Yeah.
So helpful. But yeah, it really paints this vivid picture of what a textile quality manager actually does.
Okay, so speaking of, I saw this phrase throughout the guide, implementing quality systems. That sounds important, but I'm kind of lost on what that looks like in like a real factory setting.
Okay, so picture this. You're walking down a production line, right? Bolts of fabric everywhere.
Yeah,
And you're not just checking that the color of the fabric is right.
there's got to be more to it than that, right?
Oh, yeah. You're making sure that, let's say, the dye they used meets certain standards so the color doesn't wash out after, like, 2 washes.
Ah, so you're thinking long-term quality.
Exactly. Or you're not just, like, tugging on the fabric to see if it rips easily, but you're thinking about its overall strength. Maybe you use a system like, say, Six Sigma.
I've heard of that, but never really knew what it meant.
It's basically a way to analyze why there might be inconsistencies in the fabric and then figuring out how to minimize them.
So it's about being proactive.
100%.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of proactive, the guide also mentions how important it is to stay updated on all the newest stuff.
Like what?
New materials, new manufacturing techniques. This industry is constantly evolving.
It did say something about new materials and manufacturing techniques. Can you give us some examples?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine working with fabrics made from recycled plastics or even, like, seaweed.
Seaweed? Really?
Yep, bio-based materials are going to be huge. Or picture this, production lines using 3D knitting. Basically, a whole garment is made seamlessly, all at once.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's really cool. It sounds like being a textile quality manager means you're in on like all the coolest, newest things in fashion.
For sure. But that made me think, what about the people who, actually want to become a textile quality manager?
Right. Is there even space for them in this super high-tech future?
Well, the guide says that the job outlook for textile quality managers is actually really positive.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it says we can expect pretty steady growth, which is always a good sign.
Wow.
A BUT,
There's always a but, isn't there?
always. It's definitely a competitive field.
Which makes sense, especially if it's growing and there are more people who want to get into it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where things get really interesting, because the guide mentions using tech to stand out. And it reminded me of RoleCatcher's AI platform for job searching.
Yes. Their info on that was super eye-opening. They were talking about how AI is totally changing how we apply for jobs these days. And not just us, but how employers find the right people. I had no clue about any of this before.
It really is like a whole other world out there, and you have to understand it if you want to succeed. For example, have you ever heard of what they call AI gatekeepers?
No. Sounds kind of scary, like some kind of robot deciding my fate.
You're not wrong.
So how do we get past these AI gatekeepers? Can RoleCatcher help with that?
Totally. Imagine this. You upload your resume to RoleCatcher, and it basically analyzes it alongside the job description you're interested in.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it doesn't just stop there. It tells you what skills the AI is looking for and suggests how you can tweak your resume. Make it sound more like you actually speak the lingo.
That's amazing. So I don't have to spend hours trying to guess what keywords to use.
Exactly. It saves so much time and stress.
Okay, that makes me feel better. But what about those skills that I maybe don't have yet?
Don't worry, RoleCatcher thought of that too. It can actually show you what skills you might be missing.
Oh, wow. So I can improve.
Yeah. It can even suggest courses or training programs to help you level up.
Okay, now I see why everyone's so excited about RoleCatcher. It's like having a cheat code for your job search.
Right.
But let's say I make it past these AI gatekeepers, my resume is perfect, and I get an interview. What then? Interviews are scary.
You're telling me. But RoleCatcher can actually help you prepare for those too.
Really?
They had this massive database of interview questions, like over 120,000.
120,000? Seriously, that's a lot.
I know, right? But the cool part is they're organized by career, so you can see what questions textile quality managers usually get asked.
So I can practice my answers.
Yes, and there's even guidance on what kind of answers work best.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having my own personal interview coach.
Exactly. And if you decide to go for their premium service, RoleCatcher Copilot, You can actually record yourself answering questions and get feedback from their AI.
Wait, really? AI can analyze my interview skills.
It's the future. But don't worry, it's not about turning you into some perfect robot.
That's good.
It's about helping you be the best version of yourself, highlighting what makes you uniquely qualified for the job.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about checking boxes on a resume.
Right.
It's about showing them you're passionate about this, that
Mhm.
you really care about quality. And that's something RoleCatcher can't teach you.
Totally agree. That comes from within.
Speaking of which, the guide also mentions some personality traits that are super important for textile quality managers.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
They mention being proactive, a total problem solver, and just having this genuine passion for quality.
Makes total sense, right?
Right.
You're not just like looking at the final products.
Yeah.
You're the one who makes sure the whole process is top notch.
You're like a quality detective, always on the lookout for clues, analyzing everything to prevent problems before they even happen.
I love that analogy.
Sure.
And, it goes back to those personality traits. You got to be curious, want to learn new things, figure things out. Those are the things that make a good textile quality manager great.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've covered so much, from AI to seaweed fabrics. It's a lot to process.
I know, right?
Someone just starting to think about this career might be feeling a little overwhelmed.
Oh, for sure. But hey, everyone starts somewhere, right?
Yeah.
What matters is that now you've got all this information. You have the tools to figure out if this is the path for you.
And that's what we were hoping for, to give everyone a real behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to be a textile quality manager, and of course, show how helpful RoleCatcher can be along the way.
And, even if textiles aren't your thing, the stuff we talked about today, being adaptable, thinking critically, paying attention to the little things, that's important for any job, really.
So true. Whatever you end up doing, never stop learning, embrace the new tech out there, and most importantly, stay curious.
Couldn't have said it better myself.